This week we dug out the polymer clay again, and this time we made a bunch of grapes to go in our fruit bowl. Stay tuned and see how fun and easy this project is. Alright, so we're making a bunch of basically red grapes. So I've got one grape on hand to use as a reference for size, for color, and we're not going to be exact in our color. We need 2 colors of clay for this. We need a tiny bit of Sculpey, oops, this is too much, a tiny bit of Sculpey 3 in plum, is what I've got here. And this is a much bigger piece of Sculpey translucent. This is approximately 1 part this to 8 parts that one. And that's what you need. You need just enough of the plum to tint this. So I'm actually going to turn the camera off. It won't take me too long, but I don't want to bore you with, I'm just kneading this back and forth until I get a fairly consistent color. What the translucent is going to do is the plum will stay pretty close to its original color when it bakes. The translucent is going to give it that translucency or that glow that fruit has. So when this is all mixed together smoothly, I'll be back. Alright, this is fairly smooth now. So first we're going to break off a piece. We're not going to make the entire batch of grapes. We're going to make kind of a core. We're going to kind of cheat here a little bit. What I want to do is make something that's roughly the shape of a bunch of grapes. And this needs to be considerably smaller, like think 1/3 the size of your finished bunch of grapes. So I'm going to go with this. It's about the size of my thumbnail basically, a little bigger. So that's going on my tray, and I'm baking on a paper plate. Today I'm actually baking on a paper plate. I'll turn this over. This is a piece of parchment. It's actually one of these squares. I bought several packages of that at Dollar Tree. I keep some in the kitchen. I also keep some in my paint box, my box of craft paint, and one package in my box with my clay tools because it's really convenient to bake with. Later on we're going to use liquid Sculpey, TLS, translucent liquid Sculpey, and for that we're going to want to bake on the parchment or on a tile, and I don't have a tile I want to bake on right now. So what I'm doing, I'm making a snake out of the rest of this clay that's no bigger than 1/4 inch in diameter, but I purposely made it vary in size because I don't want all my grapes the same size. Now I'm going to cut this about 1/4 inch to 3/8 of an inch in length all the way down. And we're going to make a whole bunch of grapes. Now this project is going to get baked many times before we're done. That's kind of the beauty of how we do this, is we're going to get all the pieces partially baked. As long as you don't go over in temperature, your clay can be baked over and over again. Just don't go too high. Actually, I'm going to bake this to start. For these initial bakings, I'm going to go at 250. So we're going to make all these into little balls, and then from a ball, we're going to do this. We're going to make basically that shape. And then all of these go onto that paper plate with the parchment paper. Parchment paper is, actually I'm going to take the parchment paper off right now. We don't need the parchment now, so we'll just bake these on the paper plate. So I'm going to make all of these into grapes, and then I'm going to bake them at 250 for probably about 5 minutes is all I need for this initial baking. So when that's all done, I'll come back and we'll start building our bunch of grapes. Alright, these are partially baked. This one is probably only partially baked. These are probably actually baked all the way through, but it doesn't really matter. They can be, as long as you don't exceed the temperature that's recommended for the clay, you can bake them as many times and for as long as you really need to. So I've put in my piece of parchment paper here. Really important because we are now going to use TLS, translucent liquid Sculpey. And we don't want this to, if we put this on our project and put it directly on the paper plate, it's going to stick to the paper. It won't stick to the parchment. So you could build this on parchment paper, aluminum foil, ceramic tile if you have an extra one. But whatever you bake it on has to be able to go in the oven and has to be non-stick. So we've got our little core here. This is just a filler piece, so we don't have to make quite so many grapes, because that took a while to make all those. Now, I don't think you saw what I did there. I put some, let's see if I can move the camera. This is translucent liquid Sculpey on my tray. I'm going to take a pair of tweezers, and we're not going to be able to do very much at a time. I move those off the tray so I don't knock them down. Dip it in and put it on here. And we are going to in steps. Now try and turn as much of the Sculpey, liquid Sculpey towards the core as you can. But I am going to just randomly pick up grapes here and put them against here. And once it starts wiggling around a lot, I'm going to stop what I'm doing. I'm going to take this paper plate with the parchment paper and the grapes on it. I'm going to put it in my oven at 250 for about 5 minutes. Just enough time to help the liquid Sculpey to set up. And this is going to be, it's kind of a slow, tedious project because these want to move and you need to do all that pre-baking, all that par baking. And you're going to find, like, I have a feeling that one is not stuck to the core. I have a feeling that I got all the TLS towards the parchment, but that's okay. So I'm actually going to stop here. I'm going to bake it. I'm going to come back. I'm going to add some more. I will take photographs at each stage to put on the blog post, but I'm not going to turn the camera on each time because this is going to take a while. But it's fun and it's really worth it because when this is done, it looks incredible. So I'm going to get to work, and when this is all put together and I've got the final grapes on, I'll come back and show you what it looks like then, and then we can bake it a final time. All right, I've got most of the grapes. I think this is as many as I'm going to put on. I glue a couple at the tip. And I have 3 left in that batch that we made. So that's all that's left of that clay I made. Now I'm going to pop the temperature on my oven up to 275, which is the curing temperature for all the clays, including the TLS that I'm using. And I'm going to bake this for probably about 20 minutes. I want it to thoroughly bake, because if we get this TLS thoroughly baked, it's going to go more translucent. Right now it's kind of cloudy looking. So when this is baked off for another 20 minutes, I'll be back and we'll look at it then. All right, that's baked. It's still quite warm to pick up and touch, but I want to cut off any little bits of cured TLS that are sticking out. Now, if this is going to be handled at all, I would recommend going through and filling all the gaps at the bottom with TLS and then baking that. These are delicate, and I'll just leave that little bit there. So now we're going to put a finish on it. I'm going to use matte Mod Podge. One of you did say they'd found a possible replacement for the future floor polish, but I have not had an opportunity to look into it yet. But you can see now that the TLS is all the way cured, it is pretty translucent. Whoops, I did not want that much on the tray. Just managed to pour Mod Podge all over my work tile. Yeah, I'm staying under camera. And yes, we will see bits of that, that core that we put in. And you could put another layer of grapes on the outside of this. Just keep in mind, this is going to grow a lot from the size of the core that you started out with to your finished piece, because we've got a nice thick layer of grapes on the outside. I think I am going to, I'm going to finish this on the bottom. And depending on how you're going to display this, you could once the top is all filled. You could cover the bottom with more little grapes, individual grapes if you wanted to. And we've got a few extra grapes, so I'm just going to paint them. We've got 3 of them. Those can go, like if you were doing a lunch for your doll or serving a plate of food, you could glue those on, you could show these on a lunch for your doll at some point. Just put some loose ones there. Alright, our Mod Podge is dry on our little bunch of grapes. I love how they came out. They're perfect. I've got the fruit bowl here. We can put these into our fruit bowl along with the apple and the orange that we made last time. Let's turn this around a little bit. There. That is starting to fill our fruit bowl up very nicely. If you liked today's video, I'd love it if you'd push that like button. Leave me a comment, especially if there's some fruits or other foods that you'd like to see made out of polymer clay or other materials for your dolls. Let me know. I'm always looking for new ideas for more videos. It makes it more fun for me if I know that you are looking for the item I'm showing you how to do. If you haven't subscribed and you like my content, be sure and hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you can know when I put up a new video. Check the blog post. It's linked in the description below, and I will talk to you later. Bye.